Welcome to First Parish in Waltham. We're so glad you're here. Whoever you are, wherever you are on life's journey, you are welcome here. My name is Brenda Assis, and I serve as Membership Commissioner on the Board of Managers. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm about 5'2", and I have dark brown hair, and I'm wearing green for spring with flowers on my sleeves. Here are this week's announcements. Our goal is to make our service as accessible as possible with hearing helpers and large print versions of service materials available from our greeters. Our newsletter is mailed on Thursdays. An electronic version is always on our website for that week. Paper copies can be found at the entrance to the building. Please ask an usher how you can stay in touch if you wish to be added to our mailing list. At 12:15 today, you can meet with Reverend Elka to discuss pathways to engagement. Are you looking for something new to do, or would you like to try something new with us? This gathering is open to those people who are new to First Parish, as well as seasoned members. A light lunch will be available at noon today in the Harrington Room. The auction committee is very busy. They've been very busy and have over 50 items primed and ready to go on the online auction website, which opens the second week of April for bidding. Stop by our table in Wickham Hall today and see what items will be featured. You can also sign up for your own donation. As we have experienced in the past, food items are always a hot item. Dinners in your home at First Parish, casseroles, pies, cookies. What's your specialty? The nursery in our basement is now ready for use, and we even have a new member of staff working in it. All we need now are some volunteers to help on an occasional basis. Please see April Rosario, our Director of Faith Formation, if you're interested. Our thanks to all of you who made last night's stewardship dinner a huge success by providing food, helping with setup and cleanup, our tech team, and all who attended. This is the end of today's announcements. We're so glad you're here. Please check that you have silenced your phone and other communication devices. And now, please turn around and wave to the lovely people who are joining us on Zoom today. Thank you.
Every little thing that breaks your heart is welcome here. We'll make a space for it, give it its due time and praise for the wanting it represents, the longing for something more, some healing hope that remains not yet. We promise no magic, no making it all better, but offer only this circle of trust, this human community that remembers, though imperfectly, that sings and prays those sometimes awkwardly, this gathering that loves, though not yet enough. We are still practicing, after all, still learning, still in need of help and partners, still becoming able to receive all this beauty and all these gifts we each bring. May these words from Reverend Gretchen Haley shape this sacred space we make here. Come, let us worship together. I'm Reverend Elka Carrier-Ladd. I'm the settled minister here at First Parish in Waltham. I'm excited to be leading worship with you this morning. I am a middle-aged, youngish middle-aged, I keep saying that. Is that a thing that I can keep doing for a while? Person with short hair. My pronouns are they, them. I'm wearing a green suit, a mustard shirt. I am white. I have blue eyes. And our chalice lighting this morning is going to be read and lit by Scott Tugas.
We will be renewed by Pat Uribe Liche. We come together with our tired minds and tired bodies, with our confusions and our questions, with our uncertainties and our fears. We come together with our hopes, with our pasts and our ideas, with our passions and with our faith. We come together bringing all of who we are, trusting that in gathering we will be renewed, and that together we can create the world we long for.
Thank you. Will you rise in body or in spirit for our opening hymn? It's number 18 in the gray hymnal. It's a pretty lovely classic. What wondrous love is this? Please stay standing for our unison affirmation. The words are in your order of service, and they begin with a capital L, love. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Amen. You may sit.
My name is April Rosario. My pronouns are she, her, and I am the Director of Faith Formation here at First Parish. I am a Black woman in my late 30s, and this morning I have on green leggings and a black shirt and a very, I don't know what you call this pattern, but it's like Geometric, yeah, that's a good one. It's orange and white and green, and I am feeling spring-ish. Now, every month here at First Parish, we dive into a different theme. The theme for the month of March is the practice of trust. So with that in mind, I want to tell you a story. Of course, it's an April version of a story. This story is The Empty Pot, and we can trace the original back to Chinese folklore. And it starts like so many of my favorites do, and I see some new faces, so could you all who have been here before help me out? How do my favorite stories start?
Once upon a time.
Once upon a time, a long, long time ago. The Emperor of China was getting on in their years, and they realized it was time to name an heir. An heir is who's going to rule after. Now, the emperor had never had children. So, what to do? The emperor's advisors decided that the best way forward would be to choose a child from the kingdom to take over. The emperor loved this idea. So, he sent messengers far and wide throughout the kingdom, announcing that in 2 weeks' time, all the children of the land should make their way to the palace. This was a joyous event. Children from the farthest reaches of the kingdom put on what made them the happiest and started walking. On their travels to the kingdom, to the palace of the kingdom, they noticed wonderful gardens. You see, the emperor had never had children, but had put all their love into growing beautiful things. Every possible flower you could imagine sprouted its way along the path to the palace. When the children arrived, there was a huge celebration. In the middle of the dinner, the emperor stood up and said, "One of you will be our next ruler. Here's what I would like you to do. At the end of the party tonight, on your way out, please take a small pot and a seed. Take it home, water it, care for it, nurture it, and in 1 month, bring it back. The child who has grown the most magnificent flower clearly will have everything needed to run the kingdom." The children were so excited. So at the end of the dinner, they grabbed their pots, they grabbed the soil, they grabbed their flour, and home they went. One of the children among this group, his name was Chen, and was known for being a wonderful gardener. So as soon as Chen got home, they poured the soil into the pot, they planted the seed, they watered it, and waited. Nothing happened. So Chen moved the seed to another spot. Maybe it needed more light. Nothing happened. Maybe this was a shade-loving plant, so Chen moved the plant back inside and put it in the shade. Nothing happened. Maybe it needed more water, maybe more soil, maybe this, maybe that. Over and over and over again, Chen tried to figure out what the plant needed. Towards the end of the month, nothing had grown. So Chen picked up the empty pot and started, disheartened, back to the palace. As more and more children joined the journey, Chen was more and more disappointed. Beautiful flowers of red and orange and yellow. Gorgeous leaves. Some children had full trees. Chen had an empty pot. When the children got to the palace, the emperor said, "Make a line and come forward. Show me what you have." Child after child after child after child presented the emperor with stunning, magnificent, vibrant plants, very similar to the plants they had seen on the journey to the palace. With each child, the emperor said, very nice. That'll do. That's a pretty color." The energy was low. People started getting confused. Chen had waited, getting in line, getting out of line, getting in line, getting out of line, not quite sure how to present this empty pot to the emperor. The line looked like it was done, and the emperor said, "Has anyone not come forward?" Slowly, Chen started to raise their hand. It started at their shoulder, moved to their ear, to the top of their head, then kind of went, "I haven't gone yet." "Well, come forward," said the emperor. Chen took very slow steps forward, held out their arms and said, "I did my very best, but this is all I have to show for it." All Chen had to show for it was the pot that they were given and the soil that they were given. The emperor sprang out of their seat, "Hooray!" as he shot his arms to the sky. "We have found our newest leader." Quickly, the crowd started chattering. "What? How could that be? There's nothing even in the pot." Confusion spread. Frustration spread, especially for Chen. The emperor said, "Quiet down and have a seat." Someone in the back of the room said, "I don't understand. They don't even have a flower." The emperor said, "And nor should they. I handed you all a pot. You were all given soil, and you were all given a seed. What none of you knew was that I had boiled the seeds before I handed them to you. None of you should have a flower. Nothing should have been able to grow." More chatter spread throughout the room. "What I want," the emperor said, "for our kingdom is someone who is trustworthy, someone who will do their best, and when they don't succeed, still step forward. What I want for my kingdom is a ruler who puts trust first, who models that they are trustworthy and can be trusted, so that others will remember that they are trustworthy. The best thing our village, our kingdom needs is trust in each other. And whoever is leading our kingdom should be able to model that. Your flowers and trees and plants are all beautiful, and I appreciate the work you put in. But that is not what we need." From that day forward, the law that ruled the land was trust. Not perfection, but trust. The end. Now, as you all know, that is where the story ends, but not where I end. I have a challenge for you. Our theme this month is the practice of trust. But trust is a two-way street. Last week, we talked about moving at the speed of trust. This week, I challenge you, in the days to come, if you choose to accept it, to look at how you are putting your trust in others and how you are making it possible for others to put their trust in you. And with that, I invite you to rise in body or spirit as you are willing and able, and join us in our next song, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place. 10:08?
Yep, and the
10:08.
key.
I will take our children and our youth off to do some more work on what it means to trust each other.
And you may sit as they go, as we prepare to enter a time where we can share our joys and our concerns with one another, the milestones that make up our lives, the twists and turns, the ups and the downs, and all the in-betweens, so that we might know more deeply how fully we have each other and how much that can help. If you have a joy or a concern or a complicated mixture of emotions to share here in the sanctuary, you can make a line over here by the candles. If you have something to share on Zoom, go ahead and drop it in the chat at any point, and I will read it aloud to both spaces so that we all can hear what is. And we know that there are always joys, sorrows, and complicated mixtures of emotion, maybe even too hard to name, that are too hard to share publicly, too tender to share publicly. So we light a final candle in honor of all that we all hold in our hearts. Will you prepare your body in whatever way is right for you for something important, for something with some intention? Maybe it's prayer or meditation. Maybe you call it something else. Take a few big, deep breaths and settle back into your body if you've drifted away. Wondrous mystery. It is good to be together. There is something so powerful about a group of beloveds a group who've come from all sorts of different places, who have had so many different experiences, who are diverse in countless ways, choosing to journey through life together, choosing to show up for each other again and again, choosing to support each other through all of the things life throws at us, choosing to build relationships of trust, and to have our hearts broken and our trust broken, and to choose again and again to come back. We are so grateful that we have chosen to make this space sacred by showing up, by listening to each other, by holding each other, either literally or metaphorically, by practicing love, the beautiful and obvious ways that we love each other, and the harder or less clear ways that we show up and practice love again and again every chance we can. Here we celebrate our diversity and the diversity of the world. We celebrate how powerful it is when we try to create more inclusion, when we try to create more equity. We believe so strongly in each other and in the power of every human being to grow, to change, to learn. And we know that there is power in exactly who we are right now, with no change needed. That there is something amazing that happens when we sit down beside each other, not trying to fix or take away what is hard, but just accompanying each other in all that is in and around us. I am so grateful for the chance to be with you, for all of us to know each other more and to keep building deeper and deeper relationship each time we are together. May all that is sacred hear these spoken prayers and those lifted up now in a time of quiet. May it be so. Blessed be, and amen. You may stay seated for this next hymn if you like, or if your body wants to rise to sing, do what your body needs. It's number 1053 in the Teal hymnal, How Could Anyone? And we'll sing it through three times. We've mentioned a couple times that there was a stewardship dinner last night, but not everyone may know what a stewardship dinner is or what stewardship is. And at this point in the service, when we are about to take our offering, I'm going to tell you what it is, just in case. So every year, we are completely self-funded. We do have an endowment that comes from our ancestors that also funds us, but most of how we exist and how this place does the powerful and important work that it does is because each of us contributes. And we contribute by making a guess what we might be able to contribute in the next year and pledging that amount so that we can create a budget together and then all get to decide on it and then contribute that amount over the next year if we can. And this is the time where we ask people, what can you give next year? And we started that with our dinner last night. We're going to talk about it more today. So today, as we are passing the plate, and as you may practice generosity in this moment, maybe you also hold in your heart what you are getting from this place and what you think it gives to the world so that you can continue to discern for yourself what is the right gift for you over the course of the next year. As we practice generosity this morning, our offering will be gratefully given and received.
Good morning. My name is Joan Smith. My pronouns are she, her. I've been coming here since I was literally the youngest adult here. But at this point, I guess I could say I'm in late middle age. Wearing black pants, black shoes, and a green sweater with flowers on it. And I'm reading a poem by Adrienne Marie Brown called Trust the People. Trust the people who move toward you and already feel like home. Trust the people to let you rest. Trust the people to do everything better than you could have imagined. Trust the people and they become trustworthy. Trust that the people are doing their work to trust themselves. Trust that each breach of trust can deepen trust or clarify boundaries. Trust the people who revel in pleasure after hard work. Trust the people who let children teach or remind us how to emote, be still, and laugh. Trust the people who see and hold your heart. Trust the people who listen to the whales. Trust the people, and you will become trustworthy. Trust the people and show them your love. Trust the people.
In 2019, some white folks, including myself, were welcomed into what is usually Black-only sacred space. It was a huge conference put on by Black Lives of Unitarian Universalism, also known as BLUE, a group that in 2016 was given or pledged $5.3 million from the Unitarian Universalist Association in order to really become the organization that is now so powerful today, as reparations for the time that the Unitarian Universalist Association promised the Black caucus of the UUA a comparable with inflation amount of money in the late 60s, and then was not able to fulfill that promise. There's a whole story there that I could get into lots of detail about, but many, many Black UUs left in the early 70s because of this situation, and in recognition of how big of a deal it was for any white folks to be invited into this blue space, some of us decided to create some white affinity groups during that conference for folks to process what it felt like to not be centered at all in a space, because it was new for some of us, or at least still uncomfortable. And while so many of the folks there understood very well, deep in our bones, what it meant to be anti-racist, some were still learning. And I will never forget the white-haired white man who shared with the group that the reason he had made this trip across the country to attend this conference in particular was to see what Blue was doing with his money, to check up on his investment. Because the details of Blue's budget being public wasn't enough for him. It was one of the most clear and obvious examples of paternalism I've ever seen up close. He simply could not believe this Black-run organization could make its own decisions about money without needing his opinion inserted too. He could not trust them. He needed to see for himself and make his determination. This kind of paternalism or lack of trust in each other can hold us back from all sorts of acts of generosity, can't it? We can justify never giving to anyone in need if we fear the worst possible ways they could spend such money. Folks find all sorts of ways to give goods and food to folks who are unhoused, for example, because they are unwilling to stomach the idea that someone might make a choice that they wouldn't agree with about how to spend the money they are given, right? But you know, who are we to judge what someone else might need most in the moment. Our generosity can be an act of trust. When we choose to give to someone, anyone, we are saying that we trust that person or group to make the right choice with what we give them for them, that they know what they need better than we ever could. Or at least giving and generosity is an act of letting go and allowing that person or group to make mistakes sometimes as they learn to use our resources well. When we give to an organization, any organization, we are practicing trust. I trust you to use this money in a way that you think is right for you or for your organization, for the furthering of your vision. We often give to organizations within which we have very little control over how the money is spent, right? And many of us do our due diligence and learn something about those groups before giving anything, and have changed our giving habits over time as we've learned things like that the Salvation Army uses some of its money to try to eradicate queer folks from the world, while also using some of it to help people to make a better life for themselves, right? As we learn things about organizations that are not in line with our values, we change how we give, right? And we decide what trustworthy means here. When we are deciding whether an organization is trustworthy, we get to decide what that means based on our values. It is primarily often measured in how well their vision lines up with our own, right? Does this organization want a world like the one I want? And are they working towards that? Are they doing that in a way that aligns with my values, or are they doing that in a way that is harming people I love? And sometimes we give to places that give us a lot of power and control in how our money is spent. Here, our members, those who have officially joined and signed the book, as we call it, which you can learn lots more about after church today if you want to, in our Pathways to Engagement conversation. Our members vote every single year on the budget because you get to decide together, collectively, how we spend our money. The budget, the most accurate document we have showing what we value as a community, must be approved by the whole congregation in our governance model. And if you really want to get into the process of creating the budget, all you have to do is join the finance committee. It's not that hard. So every single one of us has the chance to actually decide and be a part of the decision all along the way how we spend our collective resources here. And if we have the time and desire to get way into the weeds on that, great. We'd love to have you involved in that. One might think this added control increases trust. And in some places it does. And it is also common practice in many Unitarian Universalist congregations that folks who choose not to be part of the process of creating the budget then show up at some point in the process, sometimes waiting until the annual meeting when we're voting and it should be done, and then pick it all apart, right? Has that ever happened here? I don't know. I haven't been here. I've seen people raise paternalistic questions of the volunteers in their community that spent hours trying to figure out the best ways to make it all make sense, to be good employers, to make do with less than we really need, and to fund the possibilities that have emerged as hopes in our congregation. I've seen members of our communities insist on targeted gifts because they wanted to control where their generosity went and not spend things on things they didn't want their money spent on, or because they wanted extra accolades that can go along with gifts for specific things or reasons. How often this happens and how much a congregation allows this kind of thing to be normal and commonplace is often a direct reflection of how much trust there is in the system. Not how much trust any one person has for another, but overall how much trust folks have in each other and in that place. How much distrust people have brought with them from other kinds of communities, especially faith communities they've been a part of before, and how healed those feelings of trauma are or are not. Because if trust was broken in other places or by other clergy, it can be extremely difficult for folks to trust new communities or clergy, right? even when they've not broken that trust themselves. And the more trust there is in the system, the more we can decentralize power and be nimble enough to respond to the shifting sands all around us all the time, but maybe more so now. The more trust there is in a congregation, the more knit together we are. The more we catch each other when we fall in all the ways, the more we are able to be vulnerable with each other, including by asking each other for help and support, which we absolutely must do in church. It's like the most important thing. And the more we are able to protect each other from threats, existential or real, or some combination. Last week, we talked about how crucial it is for us to move at the speed of trust, to, as doula, facilitator, author, and podcaster Adrienne Marie Brown, who also wrote the reading, puts it, focus on critical connections more than critical mass, building resilience by building the relationships. And in the weeks surrounding that sermon, this past week and the week before, I thought a lot about the ways that I have been trying to do that here as a brand new member of your staff, and the ways that I have called it moving at the speed of trust, when what I was really doing was not being willing yet to be vulnerable because of my trauma from the times my communities have proven to not deserve the trust I've placed in them, or when I have not been trusted enough. Because of course there are times that we trust the people and they do not rise to the occasion. They do not always become trustworthy, even if we really want them to. And that can impact our ability to move forward in trusting relationships in the future. Or rather, how fully we do our healing work can directly impact our capacity for trust in the future. Moving at the speed of trust is one of Adrienne Marie Brown's principles of emergent strategy, principles that she has learned in her work, that she uses now to guide her work, and that she grounds in the natural world and how the natural world communicates and works with each other. Principles that I found so helpful that I made a poster of them and put them up in my office, because I found the principles so extremely helpful to my work as a minister, which is not unlike facilitator activist work, I suppose. Today, I want to focus on one of the other principles: trust the people. If you trust the people, they become trustworthy. This phrase is Brown's inversion of a phrase from poet and philosopher Stephen Mitchell's translation of the Tao Te Ching, an ancient scripture from Taoism. If you don't trust the people, they become untrustworthy. In the case of the emperor from our wisdom tale, he tricked people into lying to him, right? He didn't trust the people, and they became untrustworthy. He had to have not trusted most of his people in order to think up such a ruse, in order to find who was trustworthy in the bunch. And by not trusting his people, by tricking them, most of them showed themselves to be untrustworthy. Only one proved to be the exception. And really, we know that these phrases are not meant to be all-inclusive. If we don't trust all humans, if we have an untrusting posture towards all humanity, a few trustworthy folks may cross our paths. But overall, if you are looking for untrustworthy people, you will find them. You will find people who will affirm your belief that most people are untrustworthy. Some of it will be because of confirmation bias, because what you are looking for is often what you find most of. And some of it will be because the people around you feel that lack of trust and be impacted in some way, and it can impact how they show up for you. And because someone who believes folks to be untrustworthy will themselves also perhaps be untrustworthy, which may draw even more untrustworthy types towards them. Our spiritual ancestor, who I just found out last night, gave his first ever sermon in our congregation, and I'm beyond excited about this. 19th century transcendentalist, author, abolitionist, and Unitarian minister Ralph Waldo Emerson put it this way: trust people, and they will be true to you. Treat them gently. Treat them greatly, and they will show themselves great. What I love about this version is that it teases out a bit more what it means to trust someone and why that might impact their behavior just a little bit more, because it seems to link trusting someone with treating them greatly for me. And it points towards the way that this truth about trust is actually a truth about how to treat one another in general. People, when given a chance and a little belief, often rise to our expectations, because we learn who we are and what we are capable of, at least in part, through how we are treated by others. When someone shows us that we are trusted, it can ignite a part of us that longs to be trusted, that longs to be trustworthy, and help that part of us grow. And with trust, there is no payoff without a little bit of risk, maybe sometimes a lot of risk. Yes, some folks will disappoint you from time to time, but we all need reminders that we are capable of being true to ourselves, our word, and each other. And when we are reminded by a beloved what we are capable of, we often grow in that direction. I have found this congregation to have an extremely high culture of appreciation. It's something I really love about you. And we have a really strong culture of generosity of time, talent, and treasure, too. I don't think those two things are unrelated. That culture of appreciation has made me a better minister even in the short time I've been with you here. I've seen it in countless ways. Because when you reflect the best of me to me, it feels easier to be my best more often. Amazing how that works, isn't it? Have you felt that here too? Have you felt your best reflected back to you and wanted to give more of that? We've got each other to remind us when we forget just how delightful and capable and loving each one of us is. Now, I'm not advocating that we blindly trust everyone. That sure would be a recipe for disaster. But it is true that the more we can trust, the more we can risk vulnerability with one another, the more able we are to reach our bold visions. In her book, Emergent Strategy, where she first published her principles of emergent strategy, Adrienne Maree Brown puts it this way: "My dream is a movement with such deep trust that we move as murmuration, the way groups of starlings billow, dive, spin, dance collectively through the air to avoid predators, and it also seems to pass the time in the most beautiful way possible. When fish move this way, they are shoaling. When bees and other insects move this way, they are swarming. I love all the words for this activity. Here's how it works in a murmuration, shoal, or swarm. Each creature is tuned into its neighbors, the creatures right around it in the formation. This might be the birds on either side or the 6 fish in each direction. There is a right relationship, a right distance between them. Too close and they crash, too far away, and they can't feel the micro adaptations of each other's bodies. Each creature is shifting direction, speed, and proximity based on the information of the other creature's bodies. There is a deep trust in this, to lift because the birds around you are lifting, to live based on your collective real-time adaptations. In this way, thousands of birds or fish or bees can move together, each empowered with basic rules and a vision to live. Imagine our movements cultivating this type of trust and depth with each other, having strategic flocking in our playbooks. Can you imagine? Here's a real-life example from our congregation of what that can look like that is pretty recent. In the last couple of months, our beloved Emma took some time away to be with her family at a time when she needed to be there. What happened? How many of you all gave more during that time of your time and your talent in order to make sure that that could happen? Did you watch the swarm? It was a swarm. Week after week, our sound people who already come early came earlier. Our musicians showed up and offered more music. Some with very little time to prepare, created whole services that were beautiful. So many of you gave so much. One of you had their debut as a conductor. The choir especially really stepped up and led hymns without their leader, and it was clear that you all were all leaders. We were a shoal. We swarmed so well, beloveds. And you know what is needed right now most in the world? In a country where a fascist playbook is being used to further other those who are most vulnerable amongst us? We need a lot of swarms, friends, a lot of them. We need to pay enough attention to our neighbors, to our communities, to those with whom we have built relationships and are building relationships and trust, and those who are in proximity that we might still need to build relationship and trust with, so that we can swarm more easily, so that we can rise and fall together because we can feel each other's adaptations, so that we can rest in the trust of each other's love, each other's care, knowing that we have one another. We have one another. And knowing that we have each other's backs, too. We will protect each other when it comes to that. When ICE comes for our neighbors, we will show up like we did last Monday night. And when we have the flu, like I did, and also it turned out strep throat, we can trust that others will show up when we cannot, because I couldn't go on Monday night, but many of you did, right? We've got each other, friends, both for support and protection, for a hand to catch us when we fall, and for a body that will stand in the way when someone is coming for us. Now, as we kick off this year's pledge drive, as you practice trusting one another through acts of generosity again, we continue to build deeper and deeper networks of trust here in this congregation and with all of our neighbors, all of them, as we all determine what we can give to the dreams that we foster here, to the possibility of a world where no one lives in fear and where diversity is truly celebrated and inclusion is the default. May you hold close all of the times this community has held you when you were falling, all of the times that someone here has had your back, all of the murmurations or shoals or swarms you have seen happen here, like when we put on a stewardship dinner, or when we take care of someone when they need to go to be with their beloveds. All of the times you've been nourished so that you could grow more trustworthy, or in whatever direction you needed to grow. We've got each other. What an incredible gift that is. We've got each other. Every single one of you is a gift. Thank you for all that you have given and all that you will give to this beautiful and precious place and our vision of a world completely transformed. May it be so. Blessed be, and amen. Our final hymn this morning is number 346, Come Sing a Song with Me. Please rise in body or in spirit and sing it with gusto. I love it when Emma drops out for little bits because it feels like she's trusting us to carry it for a minute. I hadn't put that connection together until just now, but when she dropped out on that first hymn and we all sang it together, it was powerful to hear your voices without her supporting you and how you supported each other, how you held each other with your voices. That's church, right? When someone drops out because they are needed somewhere else, we support each other and we figure it out. May, in all the times that we need each other, may we be the swarm that is needed for each other and for everyone that needs us. May we listen to each other and pay attention to the rises and the falls so that we might move as one, because the world needs us to be united in our belief that everyone matters and that you are a gift and that your voice is important. You are a blessing. You are a blessing. Go now and bless this beautiful and broken world.